All right, there we are.
Here we are.
Yep, we are live. All right, well, welcome back to the still somewhat new Jeff Dubay Show with Jason Linse. This is episode 6. Jason is back from out of town.
I missed it last week.
Yeah, so we're back where
we're
back at Uptown Fitness, as you can see in the background.
Uptown Fitness.
So this is the back with our faithful loyal sponsor. You to tell us about Uptown Fitness.
Yeah, Uptown Fitness, the best training gym in Minneapolis for sure. 1207 Lagoon Avenue. We offer small group personal training, which is essentially cost sharing. We do have one-on-one personal training. If somebody wants that, we have that. And most people that choose that are people that's something they need. Maybe they've got an injury or something like that. But most of our members choose a small group personal training. So you can come in every time. Every single time you come in, you're coached. There might be 3 other people with you, but that doesn't matter. We've got your goals. We've got your workout, and we coach you that way, so you can save some money. But here's the cool thing. If you go to, everybody gets a free session, Jeff.
All right.
Then you can decide.
All right.
We want you to come.
Can you get rid of my man boobs?
Yeah, sure. Rack of Dubay. So
okay.
Everybody gets a free session with one of our coaches. That is a one-on-one, just because that's the best way to do it and schedule it. But then after that, you can decide if you want to continue with small group or one-on-one. Mm-hmm. So the best way to schedule that is uptownfitnessmn.com. Schedule your free session that way, and we'll hope to see you soon.
Now, I don't want to be vain or start this out on a note of vanity, but as I look into the computer here, I think my mouth seems crooked. I'm starting to wonder if I maybe have had a stroke that I just didn't know about. You know, but in my using days, sometimes people have strokes, they don't know about it. Look at how crooked my mouth is. Dude, do you think I've had a stroke? I think I maybe have had a stroke.
Yeah,
I don't mean to make light.
You are 50 years old.
But look at how crooked my mouth is. Has it always been like that?
I don't know.
Okay, whatever.
Well, I'll check it out later.
I feel like maybe I've had a stroke and I didn't know about it.
Listen,
things happen.
I would predict if you did have a stroke, it has more to do with just being overweight than it does.
Maybe using stimulants for.
Well, you haven't used stimulants in a long time.
Well, no, but I'm just saying I could have had a stroke back in the day that I just didn't know about. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk sports. Vikings. Yes. Let's start with Vikings. We got a lot of little things to get to today. Typically in this 30-minute show, we devoted like half of it to Gopher football, half of it to Vikings. But today, there's a lot of little nuggets I want to get to, like Dak Prescott not being able to understand a coin flip. So not only is he bad, he's stupid. We'll talk some President's Cup golf. Patrick Reed, asshole, but he was money when it counted. Peloton. The political correctness has just gone too far as I'm concerned. I'm sure Jason will agree with me. Go for basketball. This team has given no indication that they could even stay within 20 points of an unbeaten.
So much so that neither you or I watched any games. We haven't paid. I texted you last night.
I mean, I've tried. I watched games early in the season, and they're unwatchable.
Yeah,
they're unwatchable.
Yeah, well, I haven't even made an effort.
They beat the third-ranked Buckeyes. Ohio State, by the way, has like 20-point wins against North Carolina and Villanova. So I mean, there was no indication.
Did you watch the game last night?
You know what? Sunday night, I've been part of my, Serenity Village obligation is Sunday night church service. Yeah. I'll mock it, but
that's what it is.
I don't want to get myself in trouble here. I'm telling myself, but I was watching it on my phone during church. But I have to. I mean, they understand. I've got obligations. I can't come on here and be, like any dumber than I already am. I got to have some idea what's going on. But so I saw the second half, and basically the last 10 minutes. From what I was able to, glean from just kind of glancing at it, basically the Gophers were just at the foul line, just trip after trip after trip from like 9.
And they
10
made
minutes
everything. They made everything.
Yeah, pretty much. But one thing that, and we'll get to this more later. One thing I was intrigued when it came to this team early in the season. I thought, you know what, they're going guard heavy, and I just think. In Pitino's tenure here, they've underutilized the 3-point shot. And I know they moved it back a little bit, but still, in college basketball, you've got to have 3 guards on the floor, or at least 3 guys, 2 guards in a swing, who can shoot the 3. And I thought maybe at the beginning of the year, I'm looking at, Carr and Williams, and thinking maybe they got some guys who can make them a legitimate 3-point shooting team. And they just haven't shot it well at all. I mean, I remember watching. Oh God! It was a game in South Dakota where they were playing Oklahoma, and the Gophers came out and looked really good, and looked like they had a lead, I believe, early into the second half against a decent Oklahoma team. And I remember I was about to go on Facebook and say, "Hey, looks like the Gophers finally got some guards." And then I didn't do it, which I was glad I didn't, because they imploded and they've stunk ever since until last night. with the double-digit victory against the third-ranked team.
Out of nowhere.
Pretty impressive.
So, Jeff,
completely out of nowhere.
Let me ask you this.
I mean, so out of nowhere that it's taken us away from the Vikings.
Right.
Ahead.
Well, no, but so here's the question that I want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
In Pitino's tenure here, which I think has been 7 or 8 seasons now, right? This is not a small sample size.
No, you're right. Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, he was here. I mean, I remember having him live at our booth at the State Fair in 2013 when I was on 1500 ESPN.
Really? So has he earned his money? Has he earned his keep?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it hasn't been great. If you're going to give him a letter grade, I think to this point you give him a B-. I mean, that's
generous.
All right. Maybe C+. I mean, he hasn't been great, but it hasn't been terrible. There've been a couple of good years in there. It's hard to judge because he took over garbage. He took over nonsense.
8 years ago.
Yeah. Well, that's true, and that's the thing with basketball. And what's troubling to me is there's been a real nice wave of talent coming out of the state of Minnesota. And when I say coming out of the state of Minnesota, I mean it keeps coming out of the state. I mean, we can't shut down the borders.
Right.
I mean, we'll get an Amir Coffee from time to time. And I loved Amir, don't get me wrong. I was a big fan. But I mean, you got to get once in a while. I know it's really hard to keep home, a 5-star recruit, like Dawson Garcia, Prior Lake. But you should be able to. See, now, when you lose to Duke in a recruiting battle, I get it. You should be able to recruit with Marquette. So Dawson Garcia bothered me a little bit. I mean, I don't know why a kid would take Marquette over
especially Marquette.
Yeah, I mean, I get Duke. I get that. You got the hurt kid. You got the hurt kid down in Rochester, who picked Duke, and you got Trey Jones.
He hasn't done a great job in recruiting.
Well, I mean, it's hard to keep him home. I mean, I guess when they got Duke knocking at the door, but there have been some great players. But I mean, I'm intrigued by guys he's got coming in. He's got a couple of 4-star guys coming in, including Mashburn's kid. So I mean, I'm definitely intrigued by some of the kids he's got coming in.
The Jelly Fam was a mistake.
Yeah, that was just.
But I almost can't fault him for that. So it's almost like I mean, he's had some bad luck, if you will.
Yeah.
Because. I mean, that guy seemed promising, and he left. Isaiah Washington. Where's he at now?
He transferred. I don't remember where he transferred.
And then nobody knew Coffee was gonna. Do you think Coffee made the right choice? By the way, where's he at right now?
Well, I mean, he was with the Clippers, but I don't know if he's up or if he's in D League. I follow the NBA about this much.
Right,
that's how much I care about the NBA.
Because that hurt us this year, big time.
It did. Yes. Last year, to me, the real shame is. Marcus Carr. Had Marcus Carr been eligible last year, which they expected him to be, they thought he'd get this eligibility waiver.
He's the guy that went apeshit last night.
Yeah. He's a good player. He's a good player, and he's a true point guard, which is what this team didn't have last year.
Correct.
And Amir Coffee became kind of the de facto point guard. Did as good a job as he could. Yeah. But this team would have been a different team with the true point guard and Amir Coffee playing off the ball.
Correct.
I think he could have done some great things, which is why I thought it would have been good for him to come back this year because it would have given him a chance to play off the ball.
Went for the money.
I think
went for the money.
Well. Yeah, and I mean, and he wound up, in a decent situation with a good franchise. I mean, it's.
He could be landing tile in a year.
I mean, it's hard to say whether it was the right choice or not. From our perspective, obviously, we would have loved to see him play one more year for the Gophers, and it would have done nothing but improve his stock, in my opinion. He would have been playing off the ball, which is where he should be playing, facing the basket rather than creating for others or creating for himself.
Right.
I just think it would have done nothing but increase his value, but. What's important to Amir Coffee is probably different than what's important to Jeff Dubay, selfishly wanting to play another year.
So based on what you've seen, the limited you've seen so far, including last night, which you saw some of, are they a tournament team?
No. They're not. I mean, I'd be stunned.
They're going to win 7 games in the Big Ten kind of
I tell you what, the college basketball this year is bizarre. I mean, it's absolutely bizarre. In the last week, like 3 top 6 teams in the nation, all Big Ten teams lost. Maryland was ranked 6th, I think, and they lost at Penn State. I mean, nobody.
I heard a stat though that Big Ten so far is 13-0 at home.
There were
so nobody's winning on the road. They're all winning at home.
And a below average Illinois team,
which isn't unexpected. I mean,
and again, this is the last week. Illinois beat Michigan at Champaign, and Michigan was ranked 4th.
Yeah.
The Gophers beat Ohio State. And Penn State beat Maryland. So, I mean, all 3. And Penn State is the farthest thing from a hostile environment. I mean, that's like a 20,000-seat arena with 1,000 people in it. But maybe that's what makes it difficult in and of itself, is that if you roll in there.
They don't get a good turnout in Happy Valley for basketball?
No, they get nobody. They get a couple thousand in a 20,000-seat building. So if you roll in there maybe it's hard to get up for it. I mean, because there's nobody there. But I didn't see any highlights.
It's like Philip Rivers playing for the
LA.
LA Chargers, trying to play with that crowd.
Well, you know what? That's a small stadium. They put people in the seats, but of course most of them are Vikings fans.
That's what I heard.
I guess we covered as much Gopher. I mean, they beat the third-ranked team in the nation, a really, really good Ohio State team that you're going to get to watch. I believe it's next weekend in Vegas. There's something called, I think it's the CBS Sports Invitational or something. It's North Carolina. It's 4 really good teams: North Carolina, Kentucky, Villanova, and Ohio State. I think
because we're done with Big Ten.
Already played
we're done with Big Ten till January, probably, right?
Yeah, this is the same thing they did a couple years ago. With
Do 1 or 2 games in December.
Well, because they want to get everybody to play everybody twice. They want to have the balanced schedule, so you got to get into it early. You know what? I'm fine with that because at this time of the year, that non-conference schedule gets a little old. Even though the Gophers non-conference schedule this year, I mean, it's been
Power 5 games.
Well, they've been playing Power 5 schools, which I respect them for. They
haven't been playing the Division II hyphens.
Yeah, you don't want to play all the hyphens, and I mean you got to throw a hyphen in here and there, but for the most part, the Gophers have had a pretty strong schedule. I still think they ideally like to be better than 5-5, but anyway, let's get to the Vikings.
Before we get to the Vikings, though.
Oh yeah.
Minnesota State Mankato playing in a championship game.
Yeah, you know what? I thought of you when I saw that because they scored they won like
58,
50,
15. So ESPNU.
So you got Blooming Prairie in Mankato. Oh,
it's my year.
Unbelievable. Yeah. All right. Southeast Minnesota. What can you say? Well, Mankato's South Central.
South
Central.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Blooming Prairie can be South Central, Southeast, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's just typically
cornfields.
Yeah. You get south of the Twin Cities. I just don't care. All due respect to our friends in Mankato, I used to have a great time.
You're not even gonna but they're not playing another Minnesota team, so you don't even want Minnesota State to beat.
I'll cheer for them. I'll cheer for them.
Right.
I found myself cheering for North Dakota State over the weekend, playing I don't know Southern Illinois or Illinois State or
that's a stretch for me.
Whoever they're playing. Well, I mean, it's seen. The old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Well, there's North Dakota State and North Dakota hate each other. So, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So
gotcha.
NDSU, go Bison. Although I have to admit, when they came down here and beat the Gophers a few years ago, when the football team was still down, boy, they get really full of themselves. They think they're the premier program.
Was that under Kill?
It was either under Brewster or Kill. I forget. But it was embarrassing.
Let's forget
it was embarrassing. But anyway, Vikings win 39-10.
Ass kicking.
And this was a game that, to be honest with you, I did not think it was going to be close. And it wasn't.
I thought we'd lose.
I mean, I don't know why people were afraid of this game. The Chargers are not a good football team. They're 5-9 for a reason, or 5-8.
They've lost close games.
They
got talent.
Some, not a ton, a ton. And I mean, this is a non-playoff team, and they'd been mathematically eliminated before this game even happened.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 turnovers in one game. You got it. It's an embarrassment for a National Football League team to be.
Was it 4 fumbles and 3 picks?
Yeah, and Rivers is not. I'm not a huge Phillip Rivers guy. He's almost like, to me, he's like a higher grade. He's a rich man's Jay Cutler. Because he's a whiny, bitchy kind of a guy, like a spoiled kind of a bratty little guy, who he's put up some numbers over the years. But I kind of look at him as and I know this might sound harsh, but he's the kind of quarterback I would call a career loser. I mean, he's been around as long as Eli Manning, and what has he ever done? I mean, in terms of team success, just absolutely nothing. Phillip Rivers is a talented guy. They'll throw all kinds of superlatives around. The career numbers are big enough to get him into the Hall of Fame.
Sure,
he's a career loser. It kind of bugs me that Matt Ryan got to a Super Bowl because I was considering Matt Ryan a career loser too for quite a while, and he still kind of is. It's just part of one of the most epic collapses in Super Bowl history.
He lost,
but I mean, again, there's quarterbacks who are just. What they do, it's statistically impressive, but it just kind of rings hollow because there's just not a lot of team success to back it up. And as a matter of fact, I remember years ago, and I may have brought this up before, but when I was on 1500 ESPN, this was during the Christian Ponder years, I remember saying that I'd rather have Christian Ponder on my team than Tony Romo, because Tony Romo is good enough that you'll stick around, you'll stick with him for 8 or 10 years and just waste 10 years of your.
That's still a preposterous statement.
No, it's not, because you can move on from Christian Ponder.
Oh.
You look at Christian Ponder and you say, "What?
Okay,
that's we're
cut bait." Yeah.
Yes, we're cut bait. But if you've got Tony Romo, you've got a tease.
Yeah.
You got the kind of tease where you're gonna hang on to him for 8 or 10 years of playoff frustration and being close enough to smell it, close enough to see the promised land, and not being able to get there. There's nothing worse than having that tease quarterback. Phillip Rivers has been almost people hurt me for this, but he's almost a curse on that organization because for 15 years they got to ride that guy. I mean, he's statistically one of the best in the league, but he's not a winner. He's not somebody who's ever going to get it done. He's not going to ever get him there.
Does he?
He's a career loser.
Stats. Okay, is interpretation. He chokes when it matters. Is it kind of a? Is it in a big game? He gets in the playoffs.
In all fairness, some of it has to do with the organization and the team. I mean,
then that's not
the Chargers haven't had great teams. They've had some decent teams, and they've had
some goddamn good running backs.
Yes, they have. I mean, there have been years where they were talented enough and good enough to get there, and they've just kind of come up empty in the playoffs. I believe Pittsburgh and New England have had something to do with that in the past. Derailing some good San Diego teams. But again, that's why Phillip Rivers isn't Tom Brady. Tom Brady, he's been on teams that he got over the hump. There were obviously many teams where they've gotten over the hump. And then there's guys, like a guy like Ben Roethlisberger. Is he as talented as Phillip Rivers? Probably not. His career numbers aren't. I can't believe they're as good as. I love Roethlisberger. I mean, not as a human being, not as a blind date.
Well,
but his, but as a competitor.
Not as a Tinder date.
He's
I think, but he's a gamer. He's a winner.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think
Eli Manning's going to get in the Hall of Fame because he was a gamer twice in the playoffs.
Yeah,
the rest of the time he sucked.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. He's got 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
And Rivers, I'm assuming that Rivers has career numbers that are greater than Roethlisberger's, but Roethlisberger to me is.
That'd be good to look at. Yeah, I agree. 100%.
And it's not, the Steelers are consistently good, but the Chargers for the most part have been consistently good throughout Rivers' career. But there's something that just
they've missed the playoffs 6 out of the last 8 years.
Well, but when he was in his prime, they had some good teams.
When he was in his 20s and
they had some good teams. They had LaDainian Tomlinson and such. But I don't know. I'm just not a big Phillip Rivers fan. Maybe it's because he is such a whiny bitch sometimes, pardon my French Facebook.
I don't know much about that. I know he trash talks.
Well, I mean, don't you watch him? Don't you just see his facial expressions? He's constantly complaining about.
Is he?
Oh, he's yelling at his teammates. He's yelling at referees. He's just, I don't know. He reminds me of a better version of Jay Cutler. I mean,
Jesus freak too.
Who is Phillip Rivers? So you'd think as a Christian, he'd be a little more even-tempered and be a nicer guy.
You know how they have Jack Mormons? Do you know that term?
No.
Okay, so Mormons, they can't drink coffee, they can't drink booze. There's a lot of things they can't do.
Yeah.
And there's some that do that. They're called Jack Mormons.
No.
We should have Jack Christian, like people that don't follow the Christian.
Yeah, like Chris Carter, who loves God and hates people. It's impossible. You can't be a Christian and love God and hate people. But Chris Carter hates people.
There's a lot like that. But anyway.
Chris Carter's not a good person.
Hey, so let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So the Minnesota Vikings won. We can still win the division. Chicago didn't do us any favors. Hang on. But let me talk about that game. Did you watch it? Did we get screwed by the officials?
Well, yeah. Well, absolutely. And it happens all the time. And we bring it up, and then I had some asshole on Facebook. Just you're such an asshole, and you just ripping the team, and he called them the Vike queers. So way to go gay bash on Facebook, genius. So I immediately blocked this guy. Just because I can't even remember his name, Vincent something, but you know who you are, you douchebag. You just bitch and bitch and bitch. But I mean, if you watch the game, I mean, it's a punt. The guy does not call for a fair catch. Cordero Patterson times it perfectly. He makes no contact to the head. Okay. He doesn't make any contact until the guy's touched the ball, hits him right in the chest, forces a fumble that the Bears are on.
Okay.
Boom, momentum, field position.
Okay.
All of a sudden, flag comes out. Apparently not a reviewable type call. Not only do the Packers keep the ball, but they get a 15-yard penalty, puts them on the 35. They go in and score, and it's 7-0. And now again, that's not the only reason they won the game. I mean, if you watch as the game went on, 7-3 at the half.
Yeah.
And then the Packers got rolling offensively in the third quarter, right down the field twice, 21-3. Defense was doing a good job.
Yeah.
Of course, Mitchell Trubisky is just a train wreck. I mean, he's an awful, awful quarterback. And I love the fact that they've got to sit around and just think to themselves, God, we could have drafted Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes, and we took Mitchell frickin' Trubisky, who is awful. And I know he's got some physical skills. He's got the big arm, and he's got the athletic ability. He can move around.
Great.
But he's an idiot, and you can't succeed at that position if you're an idiot. It's that simple. He doesn't make great decisions. He doesn't have a lot of poise in the pocket. He doesn't go through his progressions well. He's just not a very good quarterback.
He won't be on that
I'll
team.
tell you this, though. At the end of that game, did you see how it ended? It ended.
Oh, no, I did.
Well, they were on the 34-yard line.
Oh, the ball in the end zone.
Well, that was the play before.
Yeah,
that was the penultimate play.
With 1 second.
Then with 1 second left, they they line up, squadron right or whatever, and send everybody to the end zone except for Tariq Cohen, who comes out kind of like left slot.
Oh, the lateral.
And they threw him just a short little pass.
Yeah.
And now he had like probably 15 yards of free to just go because they're playing so deep. He had a little, so he was able to get fairly deep, and he chucked it back to Trubisky, who's I'll come now. He's in your quarterback's hands, and he's athletic, and you can make a play. So Trubisky kind of runs it over the middle of the field and flips it over to number 49, of whose name escapes me. But he's your typical H-back, kind of a combo hybrid tight end fullback. He's kind of a Klein saucer, to put it in terms that we could all understand.
Klein sausage.
So I mean, he's so this big white oaf. Not to bring a race into it, but he's a big white oaf. He's a big slow doofus, and he's all of a sudden he's got the ball and their hopes and dreams of making the playoffs in his hands, like around the 15-yard line, and he's got Tariq Cohen right behind him, and he's got not one but two wide receivers just behind him to the right. He's got option after option, but this guy thinks he's going to be, whatever. He thinks he's going to be Paul Horning and go gallop into the end. I mean, and by the time he decides to pitch it, he's being wrapped up, and it's not even a pitch. It's just a fumble.
That would have been awesome.
But it was just garbage. If this guy, I mean, just flip it. Just flip it earlier. You had other people. So it's
what you do in your private residence is your vehicle. I don't know what that means, John.
I don't know what that means either. Bad. I don't get that. I don't get it. But anyway, who cares?
Hashtag bad strokes.
So anyway, the Bears lose to the Packers. And to me, that's the division right there. It's over. The Vikings, I think the Vikings will not only beat the Packers, I think the Vikings are going to handle the Packers on Monday night. Green Bay's defense is like 21st against the rush and 25th against the pass, or vice versa. I mean, they're ranked in the 20s against both. This is just the fact that they're 11-4 is ridiculous. They're not a great football team. They just continue to just win ugly football games against mediocre competition.
Yeah, they're the worst.
And without the
11-3,
it's undeniable. I mean, you could sit here and say, "Oh, whiny Viking fan," whatever, but it's undeniable that they beat the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions because of officiating. And you can't even argue that it's not the case.
Right.
I mean, the game-winning drive against Detroit on a 4th down that they did not convert, they got a hands to the face penalty. Without that hands to the face penalty, the ball goes over to Detroit. The game is over. All right, and it was a bogus garbage call. Bakhtiari throws his head back and draws these calls, even without the hand to the face. It's undeniable. Also, you've got the bizarre pass interference call against the Vikings. It's going to bother me, forever. I mean, it was such a horrible call, especially when you see how that rule was administered throughout the year. Not to mention the fact that it's a ridiculous rule to be able to overrule judgment calls. But that wasn't offensive pass interference.
Is that Sean Payton's fault?
It just wasn't. Yeah, it was. But it's just not. It's just
speaking
that
of
play wasn't offensive.
Speaking of whiny bitches, he should have Philip Rivers on his team.
And if you have that touchdown, by the way, then the Vikings have the ball inside the 10-yard line, only needing a field goal to win, and they don't even consider throwing the football.
So here's the reality that the Vikings are facing. Likely they'll win their last 2 games on paper, right?
I think so. I think
and they'll be the best 12-4 team to be a 6 seed probably in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, they might be.
And the Packers will be the worst 12-4 team to be what would they be, 3 or 4?
Well, right now they're the number 2 seed. There's a tool on ESPN's website
where you can have them get a bye week.
Well, no, there's a tool in ESPN's website where you enter in results of games, and it tells you how it changes the seeding. I messed with it a little bit today. If the Vikings, let's say, okay, the Saints play Monday Night Football tonight. I know people might be watching this throughout the week, and they'll already know how the Saints-Colts game turns out. But this is Monday of the Saints-Colts game for the week. This is the show for the week of December 16th. Am I correct? December 16th? Yes.
You are correct, sir.
Anyway, long story short, Saints beat the Colts. And bravo to the Colts, by the way, for being a pretty solid, respectable team despite
they're still in the
their
hunt,
quarterback bailing on them in training camp. But it said the Saints win this game.
It's a little unfair.
And the Vikings beat the Packers. The Saints with the win next week, would jump all the way to the number 1 seed, and the Packers would fall to the 3 seed.
So we need to root for the
So that's
Saints
what I'm
today,
hoping
is what
for.
you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings, I don't think the Vikings realistically have a chance anymore of winning the division. They would
Detroit would have to go in with a shitty
to,
quarterback. And
yes, David Blau.
Well, no, it's actually at Detroit.
It's at Detroit. It's at Detroit.
That's something.
It would really be
senior day.
It'd be an epic. Yeah, senior. It would be an epic collapse to lose a division on the final week of the season against an awful Detroit team being led by a quarterback who was mediocre.
So it's unlikely. So it's looking like we're going to be a 6 seed.
So,
do we have a chance at the 5 seed? Does it matter?
I don't think it matters. But what I'm hoping is if the Packers are the 3rd seed and you're the 6th seed, boom, you go to Lambeau.
You would rather go to Lambeau?
Bring it. All day long. The Packers can't defend the run. The Vikings are an outstanding running team. Even in a game where the Vikings fell behind 21-0, they ran it down their throats, even down by 3 touchdowns.
Even though we struggle on grass, you're okay.
I would take the Vikings all day long in that match.
Versus indoors against Drew Brees.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. The Packers are by far the weakest of the division leaders.
I'm with you.
Other than in the
Let's
East.
answer a question here, Jeffrey. Hey, guys, what are your thoughts on this is from Carson Helm.
Carson Hain.
Your thoughts on the Gophers being in the Outback Bowl against my buddy's War Eagle team. So I'm excited about that.
See, and Carson Hain, by the way. How you doing, Carson?
Carson Hain,
and
thanks for the question.
If you remember my days managing my nephew's team, the Rockies, the baseball team, took him to the title. Carson and I were co-managing. Carson is my co-manager from the days of the Rockies. My nephew's
living in the past.
No, dude, we won it all. We were solid. We went from worst to first.
Were you talking like 8-year-olds or how old?
They were 19-year-olds. 19-year-olds.
Oh, shit. That's legit.
That was impressive. It was impressive.
Yeah.
Well, no, we had good players, but it was like great coaching. But anyway, here's the thing with the Outback Bowl. Here's the thing with all bowl games. Unless you're in the playoff or, one of the New Year's 6 bowl games, people will judge a season unfairly based on the bowl game. The bowl game isn't what decides your season. It's your reward for the season. And I'm not trying to make excuses because I think the Gophers can beat Auburn, but there's so many things. There's so many factors. Team's motivation is one of them. I would assume the Gophers would be pretty motivated for this game, but sometimes teams who have their sights on a bigger game and lose late in the season, all of a sudden they're playing in a game that's not as important as they want. Sometimes motivation can be a bit of an issue, whether that's going to be a thing or not. No, and here's the other thing. Nowadays, players bail, and I don't want to say bail because that's a little harsh, but they'll choose to not take part in the bowl.
I was going to ask, does Auburn have any players?
Yes, they got the defensive tackle.
Do we have any players?
Yeah, Kamal Martin's already said he's not playing, and he's been in and out of the lineup all year. But he's probably the.
Why is he going in the draft?
Yeah. He's their best linebacker, second best defensive player behind Winfield. Winfield just a sophomore, but in eligibility, but a senior in age. He could turn pro, and he could also miss the game. Carter Coughlin can miss the game. Tyler Johnson. These are guys who are looking to get drafted.
They still can make the decision. They can still make this decision
to play or not play.
Yeah,
right. They have not. None of them have declared whether they're playing or not. Kamal Martin is the only guy. And Auburn's got that defensive tackle. What's his name? Derek Brown. You can't miss him. He's huge, and he wears a single-digit number. I think it's number 5. He's either number 3 or number 5. Either way, he stands out because he's got a kicker's number. And he's a defensive tackle. And
he weighs 400 pounds.
Well, and he's also a first-round. He's an All-American and a top 5 draft.
He's not going to play.
Or top 10 draft pick. No, he's already said he's playing.
Oh, he is?
He's already come out and said he's going to play.
Oh.
So, I get it. I get why you don't play him. Kamal Martin's been somebody who's been banged up all year. He hasn't been completely healthy. He has to get healthy. So
I wouldn't play. If I was going to be out
I wouldn't play. I don't resent
I wouldn't play.
Well, I wouldn't. It's not that easy for me because to me at some point, it's like you can't be a member of a team when it's convenient for you and then bail on them when it's no longer convenient for you. That's what kind of a teammate. But I do get it. I'm not trying to rip Kamal Martin. I'm not trying to rip Blake Cashman for doing it a year ago or Donnell Green who did it a year ago. I get it. It depends on your level of health. And a guy like Antoine Winfield, let's say he decides to go pro. And I wouldn't blame him one bit.
You think I don't think he will this year.
Well, he's an All-American coming off in a phenomenal year, and he's a guy who is super injury prone. He finally made it through a season for the first time in like 3 years. He made it through a season. So he might want to strike while that iron's hot. Show hey, I'm coming off a full season. I stayed healthy. I don't know that Antoine Winfield's stock ever gets higher than it is right now. So I would not blame him. And not to mention the guys he came in with, his best friends. Carter Coughlin, Tyler Johnson, they're all seniors, and they're all going too. So I wouldn't blame him one bit. As a matter of fact, I almost kind of expect it. And I respect it either way. He's a great player, and I think he's going to be a real good pro.
By the way,
there's a Tyrann Mathieu.
We have to get on other stuff, but one more thing on golfers.
Yeah, we're going to go a little long today, by the way.
Thanks for the question.
We're going. It's already 30 minutes. We're going to go a little long today.
Do we know? We know it's New Year's Day. Do we know the time? Is that?
Yeah, it's noon.
Oh, it is noon.
That's either noon or 11. It's
perfect.
It's basically the clone of the Citrus Bowl. I mean, they're about an hour apart.
Noon Central
Tampa
time.
and Orlando. They start at the same time. They're both Big Ten versus SEC, which is another reason. People get on the Big Ten about their bowl record. I mean, other than the Rose Bowl, the Big Ten winds up playing SEC schools in the state of Florida. It's not the easiest. It's not the easiest gig. Michigan's got Alabama in Orlando. The Gophers have Auburn in Tampa. It's not the easiest thing in the world to go down into the heart of the South and beat an SEC team.
Right.
And again, it's just I'm not making excuses. I do think the Gophers can compete, and I think they can win. But we'll see.
Let's get a couple other topics.
We do have a couple of things I wanted to get to. Did you see Dak Prescott yesterday?
I did not.
Okay, so it's the opening coin flip of the Rams Cowboys. Now the Vikings game's going on at the time, so I don't blame you for not seeing this. I didn't see it either. I read about it. But teams like to have the ball typically to start the second half.
Okay.
So in order to do that,
Defer.
you have to defer.
Correct.
If you choose to kick, you've chosen whether or not you're going to kick. And in the second half, the other team gets to choose whether or not they're going to kick. They can take the ball. So a team can get the ball to start both halves. And Dak Prescott, Dak Prescott is a quarterback. He clearly is out there for coin flips. This is not the first time he's been out there for a coin flip, college or professional. He's done it many times.
It's not his first rodeo.
But he yells out, he wins the toss, and he yells out, "We want to kick." So that means you've taken the choice of whether or not you want to kick. That means that the Rams have the choice of whether or not they want to kick in the second half. So the Rams were going to get the ball to start both halves. But after Dak yelled out, "We want to kick," then he kind of realized he made a mistake. He goes, "No, we want to defer." So he kind of changed it. But the referees on the field, the officials on the field were like, "No, too bad. You're kicking off both halves." But the league office saw this and heard this. This is kind of like a rules violation in golf where some guy's on his couch and he calls in and says, "Hey, Patrick Reed just improved his lie in a waste bunker,"
okay,
or whatever, or Dustin Johnson at Whistling Straits.
No.
But this is the league office. This isn't some armchair quarterback. The league office is like, okay, we heard him correct himself and say defer. We know what he meant, so they called and said, "Hey, Dallas, referees, Dallas gets the ball to start the second half." So it was kind of weird and kind of.
I'm kind of on the side of Dak Prescott.
Oh, he's an idiot. I mean, it's how hard is it?
Not saying
either
he's
you
not,
defer or you take the ball.
But I mean, if
kickoff,
I didn't hear it, but if he said, "We'll kick," I'm sorry, no. He just made a mistake in his.
The officials that were handling the coin flip were ready to give the Rams the ball to start both halves. Yeah. So I mean, you got to. I mean, it's not quite as bad.
That's taking that shit a little too seriously.
Maybe a little too far.
Yeah.
Maybe just a little too far. Just a couple other things. Twins lose out on Madison Bumgarner. I never thought they'd get him. Well, you know what? When it comes to free agency, I think teams get too much criticism when they don't sign a guy because a guy's got to want to sign there. I mean, and I don't know what Madison Bumgarner did or didn't want to do, but he's been a National League West guy his whole career.
Doesn't want to pitch in 40 degrees in April.
Well, yeah, he signs with Arizona. He stays in the same division, so he knows the same. He's in the same familiar ballparks. He's against the same familiar competition, Arizona. Yeah. So he stayed in the same division. 5 years. $85 million, $17 a year average.
Is there going to play outside?
Maybe it's retractable. Bank One ballpark. It used to be called.
So when it's 110 degrees in July, that's closed. All right.
I would think so. But it's people are going to start going nuts because they didn't get Wheeler, they didn't get Strasburg, and they didn't get Cole. They didn't get
nobody.
Bumgarner.
And the pickings are slim now.
Again, that's four guys. They did get one guy, Jake Odorizzi. I mean, people have got to stop. I mean, Odorizzi's getting $17 million a year too, and he was going to be if he would not have accepted that qualifying offer from the Twins, he would have been one of these 4 or 5 guys that everybody would be swarming around at the winter meeting. So they did get one of the high ticket starting pitchers that were out there. It just happens to be a guy that they already had. Yeah. And I'm not making excuses for him. I still think that there's gonna be something impactful coming up, whether it's adding a big bat to the lineup or making a trade. I mean, who knows? Maybe they
trade for a pitcher.
They might trade for a pitcher. They might
would be
Eddie Rosario might be trade bait for a good pitcher. I mean,
you're okay with that, right?
If it's the right pitcher. Yeah. If it's the right pitcher. I mean, we've got offense. Go ahead and sign yourself a big bat and then go ahead and deal one of your bats to get that pitcher that you need.
No.
Yeah, when you trade for a guy, unless he's got a no trade clause, he can't say no. It's the thing when you're doing free agents, you got to get a guy, and then I'm not saying no, people have anything against, the Twins organization or playing here or coming here. But, when a guy says, no, I'm going to play for Arizona, it might just be that he wants to play for Arizona. It might just be that he wants to be in the National League.
Yeah, we don't have
all offers being equal. He might still just want to be somewhere else. And it's just, it's not always a team's fault if they don't get a guy signed. It's called a free agent for a reason. It's not an intimidated agent or a muscle.
It is if we give him a low offer.
But I would assume that they were competitive. The Twins typically are competitive in that area.
Oh, really? All right.
And but hey, did you want to? A week ago, you said you wanted to vent about Patrick Reed. Are you over it now? Are you still mad?
Well, no,
he cheated. I think he cheated. You don't think he cheated?
So,
this is 2 weeks ago in a waste bunker.
Do I think he did? Do I think it was intentional? Yes, but you can't. But we don't know that, right? So yes, I think he did. But you give him this penalty and you move on. My problem is with social media, they just won't let up, and they won't let up, and they won't let up. And I understand why he's getting called. He deserved everything he got at the President's Cup in Melbourne. You can't get on a plane 25 hours after you look like you're cheating and not expect to be heckled.
Right.
But what I didn't find the full story on is what happened to his caddy.
At the President's
Cup. Is there a video of this?
There is not.
Dang it.
But basically,
did he get a fight?
In the first 2 days, Patrick Reed was a combined 0-3.
He didn't play well.
He was 0-3. And obviously, anytime you have an international team competition, you're going to have some razzing. And now Patrick Reed is a lightning rod for it. Because even before the incident at the Hero Challenge, he's the kind of guy who talks trash. Remember him and McElroy head-to-head at the Ryder Cup?
I watched it live.
You were there for it. So, Reed is the kind of guy who's not afraid to not always be a gentleman on the golf course. He's going to be a lightning rod. Then he has this thing at the Hero Challenge, Tiger Woods event in the Bahamas, where a rules violation, and then he basically, rather than apologizing for it or taking any blame for it or showing any contrition, he just said, whatever, I didn't do it on purpose. This is bullshit. I'm not going to take the blame for this. Blah blah blah. And that's what caught him. That's where he caught the heat. So anyway, you get into a fired up international team competition in golf where where the fans have a vested interest in who wins. Yeah. And they're drinking, big giant fat cans of Foster's in the Australian sunshine at Royal Melbourne Golf Course. So for 2 days and 3 losing matches, can you imagine how much abuse? I'm sure that the Aussies were letting him have it.
Well, he probably got so much where he was desensitized to it, right?
Well, but now the caddy, I'm hot-headed. If I was the guy's caddy and I'm listening to that all day, I'm getting to the point where I'm going to tell a guy to F off. And it turns out that the caddy, by the way, is his brother-in-law. So they're family too. So I'm not excusing it because you can't lay hands on a spectator. And I don't care what.
That's what he did.
Yeah, he spilled the guy's beer. He kind of got in his face, and he didn't punch him. He kind of shoved him a little bit, and he spilled some of his beer. And that was it. That was the extent of it. He had to go get another Foster's. But
for $12.
Yeah.
$15.
Yeah, I can imagine. an event, big oil can of Foster's. But yeah, so anyway, that's what that was.
You're talking about me.
And then he was asked to not come back. The PGA Tour said, do not come back to the golf course.
I am LePan. That's right.
Not only are you not.
That's fine. I'll go with that.
Not only are you not on the bag, but we don't even want you at the golf course the next day.
Right.
So his coach took the bag.
By the way,
and he won. And he won convincingly.
No, he did.
And the USA went on to win after a very.
Do you think his case fired? He's related.
No, it's his brother-in-law.
Okay.
They're tight.
Well, not blood. Secondly, how much of a struggle if you've never caddied or if you're not caddying on a regular basis and you have to loop one time that big ass bag? I bet that.
Yeah, that's the coach though. He's probably caddied before.
I'm not saying
somebody that close to the game.
I would love to see him the last few holes. I bet he was sucking it up a little bit.
I suppose.
But anyway,
I don't think they went.
They came back. It was looking bleak. Here's the thing about it and I missed it on Saturday because I was tired. But the cool thing about in Melbourne, you could watch it as long as you stayed up till 10, 11 o'clock.
Yeah, Saturday night prime time. It was great.
Yeah,
the final, the single matches.
So way to go, Woods.
Yes.
By the way,
I love
when's the last time that happened?
When people like Tiger, I love
player coach.
Yeah, and he did a great job. I like
Tiger now. I didn't like him 15 years ago.
He did it in both roles. Well, yes, all he had to do was become a philanderer, and all of a sudden he's your guy.
I didn't.
Funny that
no,
he relates to him.
No, that's opposite. I didn't like him before that. During that. I like him now because he has become more real. Maybe his publicist told him you need to. He just seems to be more humbled. How about I say that?
I love it. I love it when Bill Burr defends guys like Tiger, saying people like to judge but they never have to deal with temptation at that level.
Yeah.
Like you walk off the 18th green, he says, and there's a busload of Swedish nannies waiting to jump your bones. But Bill Burr doesn't put it quite that delicately.
No, I know.
But it's a great Bill Burr bit. It's like you don't until you have to deal with temptation at that level.
That is a good.
Don't judge.
That is a good question. Judge. Like if you're Tiger Woods is obviously one of the most famous people in the world, right? Right. Michael Jordan, him. Right. Let's just go with give me a Karl Anthony Towns. Okay. Right.
Okay.
How often is he getting offers for chicks to go down on him?
On a nightly basis, multiple offers. Well, I mean, I'm sure multiple offers a night. And I'm not saying he's the kind of guy who puts himself in that situation.
But how do these offers come nowadays? If you're a professional athlete, is this like gals walk up to him and say, "Let's do it," or is it text?
I would like to think there's a little more art to it, a little more style to it. But I don't know. But all I know is if you're a professional athlete, you have on a daily basis multiple opportunities to fornicate. I mean, without a doubt, I don't care how it happens. The logistics mean the logistics mean nothing to me. But I mean, you will have multiple fornication opportunities on a daily basis. So I mean, it's this has nothing to do with Karl Anthony Towns. He just threw a name out randomly. Oh, Karl he might be
local basketball player.
He might be in his hotel room praying 12 hours a day for all I know.
Not betting on that, but okay.
But whatever. It's just a professional athlete Z.
Yeah.
The opportunities are there. I mean, it's just there's no doubt about it. And it's a temptation level that people like me cannot relate to. And I'm a recovered drug addict, for God's sake, a recovering drug addict. So I know about not handling temptation, but I mean it's temptation at a whole different level. I don't know. Like when I was in addiction, I'll tell you one thing that I wondered about is like growing up, it's a bummer that you think about all the rock stars and musicians that we lose over the years. Yeah. Hendrix and Moon and Bonham. I mean, we just go down the list. Yeah. Morrison. And now it seems to be happening with movie stars or actors and actresses more than anything. But anyway. I always thought to myself, God, what a waste. You got all this talent, you got this great career. How can you let that happen? And then when I was in addiction, I thought to myself, how are any of them alive? I mean, and I don't mean this jokingly. I mean, to have the ability, I mean, if you're a rock star on the road, you can have anything you want without limits at any time.
Pretty much for
just without, I mean, thank God for financial restraints or job obligations or whatever that keeps people from me like going completely berserk. If I'd been a rock star and I could have anything, and that's not a joke, if I could have had anything I wanted at any time, I would have been dead. I don't know how any rock star is still alive. It amazes me. God bless
the drug that you back in 2008. When you discovered that, if you had $10 million in the bank, would that have been gone?
I mean, you see documentaries. It doesn't matter. Like if you start, if a guy's like a CEO of a national conglomerate, and he's worth hundreds of millions, or if he's a construction worker across the street, welding girders, or if he's a garbage man or a waiter, they all wind up under the bridge. They all wind up under the bridge in a box. It's just that's the. Crack cocaine is a drug that will take anything that you have. It'll take everything you have until there's nothing left. It's just all there is to it. But anyway, I digress. That's going to do it. This is show number 6 in the books.
Yes. We're outie.
So appreciate everybody tuning
Uptown
in.
Fitness, 1207 Laguna Avenue. Get your free session.
Look like me.
Get coached. Lose the rack of Mickelson. Rack of Dubay.
Yeah, it's not good, dude. I've gained. You know what? That's how people can tell I'm no longer using.
Well,
I mean, I weigh like 40 pounds.
We can coach you. We can get you there. You are still a good-looking guy.
Except for the crooked
mouth. And I'm not Anthony LaPanta.
I swear to God, I think I had a stroke.
But I probably have hair similar to Anthony.
I think I had a stroke. I've got a crook in my mouth.
I think you stopped worrying about that. You sound fine.
All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I'm going to shut
Peace
her
out.
off now.